One of our friends on Icy Red, they picked up anchor and moved because they were dragging like crazy. The other ones that were parallel with us for ages, they suddenly disappeared and I thought they'd picked up anchor, but in fact we think they've dragged.
Hi! How are you? Yeah, good to see you, Helen.
Nice to see you.
Yeah.
Just to say hello for you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so enjoy your day and
Thank you.
Just wait for the quarantine and immigration. If they could come,
Yeah.
the clearance this afternoon, that would be nice.
Yep.
But if not, I can tell you if they would like to do tomorrow.
Okay. Well, we're not going anywhere.
Yeah. Okay. Hello.
That was Helen, our agent, accompanied by her assistant and chairperson of blah, 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 something in Tawal. Didn't catch it. Anyway, she's just explaining that it's a public holiday today, so CIQP, Customs, Immigration, Harbourmaster, Quarantine, Health, whatever, would like to come today, but it's already 5 o'clock, so there's a high possibility they won't make it today and they'll come tomorrow anyway.
Oh, CIQP. So we got here on Monday, we were told to get here on Monday, and that CIQP would be coming out to check everything, and then when we got here it was, oh, they're going to come out about the about the health, and 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, nobody came. It is a public holiday, a religious holiday, so under no circumstances am I surprised that nobody came. So rushing around today to get here wasn't necessary.
And how many mosques have we got going?
I've got a lot of mosques going because I can't remember the proper Islamic name for this holiday, but it's equivalent to the Christian Easter. So obviously it's a very religious day and there's a lot going on and there's a lot of mosques. So we're getting serenaded from all sides.
Nice to get a welcome like that. Lots of smiley faces. I think that is very indicative of Indonesia from the little we know of Indonesia. So that's a good start. And it seems like Lindsay has got some visitors from the... Now we passed a motor yacht up there. We don't know this boat. But it looks like a cruising motorboat, motor sailor I should say. Liz thinks it's possibly even a Nordhaven, and they seem to be in their dinghy buzzing around. Anyway, right, that's it. So, good anchorage, lots of room, lots of curious fishermen going past, coming back from their day's fishing. Bit of thunder over there, but otherwise we're pretty comfortable. Just a shame about that bloody fridge. Did we talk about that? The fridge has stopped working. Well, after a good night's sleep in this nice flat calm anchorage that's got quite a bit of current pushing through, it looks as if there's a bit of activity this morning. So we've just had notification that Customs, Immigration, I think it's Health, are coming around the boats now to do the PCR test, which is obviously part of the requirement of our entry procedure. Little boat zooming around between the boats with about 20 people on board. I'm not sure how many are actually getting off though, but I just saw them come up to Amel deck, and one guy with a big visor on, so that's probably the test up the hooter job. So we'll have them first, and then I think it's immigration. So that's what we're going to be doing this morning.
No problem?
No problem. Woman, no fear.
But I like your color, right?
Thank you.
Okay.
So thank you, Jamie and Alice.
Thank you.
Okay.
I am Asa.
Thank you.
Thank you, Asa. Well, that's the paperwork done, and all relatively painless really. My biggest worry is always our solar panel, which we have to put down, and you've got these two boats of different heights coming alongside. That's just me being a bit too precious. But otherwise, it's all smiles, all straightforward, and I think that was all departments, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think we've done them all.
I think we've done them all.
We've had the tests, and we've got how long? We've got 3 days. We've got 3 days now for the test results, and during those 3 days we cannot move off the boat and we can't go and see the other boats. We have to remain completely isolated, so it'll be quite nice.
Yeah, well, we've got lots of work to be getting on with, haven't we?
Yes.
Including that bloody fridge.
What's going on?
No idea.
What are you trying to do?
Don't know.
Do you want a cup of tea?
No. Okay, I'm in a better mood today to talk about the fridge. So I don't actually know what's going on. It is giving the symptoms as if it's got a leak. I don't know how this is possible because the compressor is obviously bolted down. We're very careful when we put stuff in the fridge. The problem is that if there is a leak, it's difficult to find out where it is unless I regas it. So I've got to put gas back in order to try and locate the leak if that's the case. I have been consulting with my mechanical expert Ian on Icy Red, who also has an Aussie fridge and has done for many years, and has also regassed fridges many times. Last time I did it was about 15 years ago in Turkey. So I'm now putting gas back into the fridge and it's taking a rather long time. I've managed to get the plate down from 14 degrees, that's plus 14 degrees centigrade, to 12.1. Topping up with gas every now and then, letting it settle, adding a bit more in. Now, in principle, you should be following the pressure, the PSI, the pressure. But both Ian and actually Peter at Aussie Fridge said that at this initial stage, it's actually better to look at the icing up of the plate and the suction pipe, which is the cold feed, back to the compressor. When you first install these things, you have to release gas, and to stop that icing up, prevent the icing up all the way back to the compressor. You don't want it to ice up that far. Well, the furthest I've got so far is icing up the top of the plate, so it hasn't even come close to that yet. So it's really just a waiting game, topping it up, waiting a bit, topping it up a bit more, and that temperature is slowly coming down. The problem we've got, of course, is that we're at anchor, and when that compressor really starts working hard, it's going to be drawing quite a few amps. So I have to turn it off at night, which is frustrating because you then have to start all over again the next morning. So I'm hoping to try and get as much done today as possible. Can you hear that? Call to prayer. One of the slightly better ones. Some are good, some are not so good. Some of them are just recordings. They've played through a terrible PA system. So as another ferry passes and we can expect the boat to be rocking around a bit, allowing the fridge to cool down, I went top heavy on the gas this time. I think I was being conservative with the gas previously and wasn't putting enough in. So I've now put in plenty more and it suddenly started dropping very quickly. So I just need to keep an eye on the frosting up of that suction pipe. So anyway, fingers crossed it's down to 1 degree centigrade plus. And it was 14 when I started, so that's good. Anyway, I'm now just getting on with fitting this B&G repeater. And I think, as we explained, the LCD display on our old repeaters just went. Both of them at the same time just went. I've tried contacting B&G, I tweeted them, and I've put in a support ticket, and I have heard nothing back from them, despite my support ticket being received and getting an automated reply saying someone will be in touch with you shortly. It's now been, well, it's a good 2 weeks, maybe 3, and I've heard nothing back from them. So B&G, if you're watching this, sort it out, because these are not cheap pieces of equipment. The new one was £500 sterling, and you know, the fact they've lasted less than 10 years is terrible, in my opinion. I think it's absolutely crap. So I'm now just cutting a new hole, because typically it's a new repeater, the new generation, it's got a different mount to it. So the previous ones, as you can see, were circular. So this is one of the old ones, and the new one is square. So I've got to cut out a square there. Fortunately, this box is made of honeycomb, so it's quite easy to cut through with a little hacksaw blade.
finish the rest of the clearing documents.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So we heard from Helen
Uh-huh.
that we must not go ashore.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have...
It is day, I don't know what, of quarantine. We were told originally it's going to be 3 days, then they said it's 5 days, and there's actually a holiday towards the end of our quarantine period anyway, so we won't be able to get our documents back until Saturday. It's now Thursday. So I'm standing at the end of the boat because I'm having to run the generator, and unfortunately this is what happens when you hammer the computer. And of course I was having to fix the refrigeration system, which basically meant running that fridge all day. So the batteries have taken a bit of a hammering, and yeah, that's it really. We're just sitting here patiently waiting. We just had our second PCR test this morning, which I think is the tail end of the whole quarantine process, and we'll get the results for those probably tomorrow, which is a Friday, which I think is their holiday. So yeah, get stuff on Saturday, and then we really wanted to go ashore to Nunukan. You know that we love doing that kind of exploration of local towns, but we have been advised against it. Although they have an 80% vaccination rate on Nunukan, 80, which is good, they have got a big wave of Omicron at the moment. So they've said to us, we can go ashore if we want to, but they would advise against it. So anyway, so I suspect that we'll probably push off on Sunday and continue down the coast. In the meantime, call to prayer, courtesy of the 100 or so mosques that line that coastline there. But on the top of the hill, I noticed this morning there is a church, a little steeple and a cross. Multicultural and all that. It's day 5 of our quarantine on this rather beautiful day. A few fluffy clouds in the sky. Solar panels getting a good top up. We have heard from Asa, who is our local contact here, that the paperwork will be delivered today, but we just have to wait for the signature from the harbour master. I think this is the one that actually originally refused to see us, so we're kind of hoping that he will sign us off. More to the point, what we're hoping is that we'll get them with good enough time to actually leave this anchorage and just make a 15-mile journey back down that way in order to get a head start tomorrow for a kind of 2-day journey to Tarakan. We've just heard also that Brian and Penny on Amaldeck have said that they do need to push on. They do want to spend some time at Raja Ampat, but of course they are also heading back to Australia, so they're having to think about weather windows, and their generator has just shit itself as well, so they now have power issues. So I think we might be saying goodbye to them today. In the meantime, we are just sitting here patiently waiting, having done a few minor boat jobs and a bit of video editing, and enjoying this beautiful, beautiful weather on what is now a quiet Sunday afternoon. It wasn't half an hour ago when the mosques were kicking off. Hello. Esper, right? Yeah, Esper.
Nice to meet you guys.
Yeah.
Hi.
So that was Dale's some friends who have just given us all our documentation, so we are ready to leave, and it's only midday, which is great. So gives us plenty of time to get to our next anchorage, and we'll just wave off these guys.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, terima kasih. Cheers. Okay, Liz just taken the anchor up. We're now leaving. There's been quite a strong current here in both directions. It's actually more pronounced when we're pointing the other way. So we have a bit of current that's going to take us with us. We're on spring tides. And seems like the anchor's up. And so too are the others leaving, as you can see there. Right, the adventure continues. It's quite funny. We're recording the fishermen recording us. I think we're as much of a novelty to each other as anything. Anyway, all friendly smiles, lots of hellos. And these are the fishermen that we see at night time. Now, when we came down here 5 days ago, it was somewhere there behind that island. and that's where all those funny nets were in the shallow waters. But at night time, all the local fishermen, they go out to those nets, so we could actually see a 360-degree perspective of lights all the way around, not only from the island of Nunukan and the town there, but also all the fishing boats that line this bay. I mean, if you are a local fisherman, this is a pretty good spot to be based, isn't it? It's pretty well protected and incredibly scenic. Behind me now is Sibatek, which is that island that's divided in between Indonesia and Malaysia, and that is where we're going to just be heading this afternoon.
Well, we've left quarantine, hooray! So we're allowed to go somewhere, and it was so bloody hot there. I'm glad, even though we're motoring, to get this breeze through. So we've left Nunukan, the island of Nunukan's over behind you. We're going to the very end of it, and then on the other side, oh, I can't remember what's that called, that island.
Sibatek.
Sibatek.
Well, there's
Or
two ways.
Sebatik.
Yeah, two ways to pronounce it, depending on which side you're in.
Sebatik or Sebatik. Anyway, we're just going to go about 15 miles down here, find somewhere to anchor overnight, and then tomorrow up early and down to Bunya, Pulau Bunya. So we're just gradually making our way down to Tarakan, where I'd like to do a little bit of shopping. I'd like to get some more tomatoes, a few fresh vegetables. You want to look at refrigerant maybe, and then once we're finished there, we're heading further south. So hoping in the next couple of days to get some fishing in.
Well, although this is a nice big wide channel between Sebatik and Nunukan, it turns out that all the local fishing boys are out, and it seems as if they have long nets coming out the back of their boat. So they sit at one end of the net, and then the net goes back out to shore on either side. So we were wondering why Brian, who's ahead of us, was sort of doing this, and he came on the radio to explain that the nets probably run a good 100-200 metres out the back of the boat, so at least during the day they're visible, but it does mean we're sort of zigzagging our way down this channel.
Hope we get some fish. Oh, it's pushing it out.
Well, that was an interesting 13 miles motor outside of Nunukan and back out towards the open sea, which is just over my left shoulder. And really it was a game of Frogger. It was like Frogger, the arcade game, jumping backwards and forwards, left and right, to avoid all those various fishing nets. And at one point some bastard started laying it out as we were approaching him, so we had to do a quick handbrake turn. So we're just anchored just on the tip of Sibatek, I think it is. And again, there's the whole of these mangrove shores are lined with nets, and then they've got these little platforms all the way along as well, and various fishing boats buzzing around tending to them. So really this was just to get us out and a head start towards our journey tomorrow towards Tarakan. So engine off, relax now.
So, I don't know, about 10:15 or something like that, suddenly bang, wind coming through, bit of a squall, and you can see by the way I'm moving that the waves here have picked up. I went up to the front about 20 minutes ago, and though the boat was doing that, Snubble was still holding. We're hoping that it's just going to be a squall. It normally is.
But tell us what's happened to the other boats.
Well, one of our friends on Icy Red, they picked up very quickly, pretty soon, and they picked up anchor and moved because they were dragging like crazy. The other ones, songlines that were parallel with us for ages, they suddenly disappeared, and I thought they'd picked up anchor to re-anchor, but in fact we think they've dragged. And then the fourth boat, Freycinet, in front of us, appears to have come towards us, but at night everything always seems closer, so we haven't seen him move really in the last half an hour or so. According to my track, we're just going round in circles where we are, so I don't know what's going to happen next.